It's time for Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock.
Believe me when I say we have a difficult time ahead of us. But if we are to be prepared for it, we must first shed our fear of it. I stand here without fear because I remember that I am here not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me. I remember that for 100 years we have fought these machines. And after a century of war, I remember that which matters most. We are still here! Tonight, let us make them remember we are not afraid!
You're independent from me, Ernest Hancock. Ooh, I got an interesting show for you. Al Liebl. How do you say your name? Did I say it right, Liebl? Liebl. Al Liebl is the founder of the VettID, pronounced vetted. Now,
yep.
Al received a BA in economics from UC Santa Barbara. His first job out of college was with financial software company, and he's worked for technology companies ever since. Now, what he worked on for a number, some successful startups and so on, and in addition to larger technologies he's worked with, he's expertise in systems management and security, which is what we're going to be talking about. Al has been awarded patents for malware containment, containerization, authentication. He lives in Delaware with his wife and daughter and a dog. And more information on vetted may be found at VettID, VettID.org. Now, there's a dev channel, and so we're going to talk about it. We need to talk about it. Now, VettID is a world's first personal security service. Now, in the pre-show, I'm trying to get a use case for us, what we're going to do. I'm going to let him explain it because there's a lot of things. Each one of us has a special place in our heart for storing data and how secure we're going to make it and how much we get to do it, who we get to share it with, and like a team thing. You got all these different mechanisms, but they're always clouds. It's at somebody else's, and you're doing it by the protocol that they want and how, and you got it, and then, it's kind of your data. You just can't have it now unless you do this kind of thing and that thing, and then now it's our thing. Well, what happens is, over the last, it's been about a month, right before Christmas, kind of really started around Thanksgiving, something's coming. Something's coming. I can feel it because we're getting hacked, DDoS attacked, our email servers doing, and some can't. And if you want to do it, you got to add this so we can like spoof your site, or we can do this or that. So my IT guys are like, no, this is, they're trying to set you up, man. Don't do it, man. Don't do it. So, good friend, Tim Pachote, the Liberty Advisor, he's like, Ernie, you need to talk to Al. Liebl, he's going to explain it to you. Well, I'm like, okay. Well, what's he going to explain? Well, we're going to find out. This is what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and have Al do his elevator speech. All right, elevator me, man. Give me what it is that you're doing and how you're doing it and why you're doing it and why we need it and who needs it. So I'm going to let you do your commercial, and then maybe I'll have some questions. I probably will.
I'm sure there'll be plenty of questions. So thanks, Ernest, for having me on. The kind of inspiration for Vetted is the fact that there are so many critical activities that we do online today that we absolutely have no control over. And that starts with, if you look at basic simple messaging, things like text messages and cell phone calls.
It starts with me touching my computer. That's when it starts.
Yep. So those systems are completely compromised. So then, more cautious people move on to things like Signal and Telegram. And while those do offer some benefits, at the same time, when Catherine Maher, one of the board members for Signal, comes out and says that the truth gets in the way of getting some things done, I have real questions around her commitment to the privacy and the communications that I have where I'm discussing truth. And Telegram, while it's a great technology, there are some questions there too. Now, that's one example of critical stuff you do online, but there's other examples as well in terms of transacting. How can I use cryptocurrency or other types of tokens and things and work with those online, but do it in a secure way that's not overly complicated and that also keeps me in complete control. We also get into an area where most of the things that you do online now, if you don't really know, are driven by private keys, API tokens, access keys, and things like that. These are all little bits of kind of metadata that control your online experience. So if you're encrypting a file with some service somewhere and sharing it with people, they have the encryption keys. They basically are storing the encrypted file, and you go to them to ask for the key to, decrypt it and so forth. So it's basically you're constantly having to go to them. The idea for Vetted is to say, let's take all of those critical activities that you do online and put it entirely in the user's control. And I don't want you to just trust me or take my word for it. One of the little kind of breakthroughs that I've had with Vetted is the way that Vetted works. It is a cloud service. I'm trying to set it up as a member-owned cooperative, and some of the assistance I need is on the legal side for the organization piece. But with Vetted, the code is all open source. And when the code is deployed in the cloud for the vault, which is the critical area that contains all of your data and secrets and things, that's actually run in what's called a secure enclave. That's a specialized server in the cloud where that secure enclave, once the code is compiled, it can't be modified or edited, or if that is done, it'll be recognized because the signature for that code changes. So this essentially allows us to lock down the environment, keep it secure, and give you complete transparency into what's actually running and what's happening with your data. Now, let me pause there and see if you have any questions on that so far.
No. Keep going, man.
All right.
Convince me.
So, so the goal here with Vetted is this is not going to solve all of your problems online, but it actually is the foundation for allowing you to do that. Vetted allows you to take control and ownership over those keys and tokens that control your online life and your personal data, your PII. If you put that into what I call your vault,
what's PII stand for?
What's that?
What does
PII is personally identifiable information. It's all the stuff when you go to register to do something online. They want your name, your address, your credit card, your phone number, and all of that. Those are
I just got to warn you, man. All the geek talk. You got to give me all of the definitions of all acronyms. I mean, help me out here.
Yep, fair enough. I will try to make it a little bit simpler. And when you think about it, this is really what I'm trying to do. If you were to go to Target to buy something, when you go to check out, if you're using a credit card, you don't just leave your credit card or your wallet with Target when you walk out of the store just in case they need it next time. But that's what we're doing online with all of our personal information. So with Vetted, the goal is to allow you to have control of that and centralize it around you. And then when you connect into a service like a bank or for online shopping or something, through that connection, they can request that data from you without you having to type it in all over again. It creates a secure channel between you and either other users that you're connected to so you can communicate or transact, as well as with other services that you connect to. So now you don't have to worry about phishing attempts where they're going to send you, notification messages and you're not sure what to do with. With Vetted, there's a completely secure way for them to communicate with you. Same thing for like tech support, spam calls and things like that. So with Vetted, it provides you with this secure foundation, and there's integration for different services and applications to be able to tie into it. So now you can start building a complete ecosystem of secure and encrypted systems where you are in control. You have the kind of central data store as an individual, but all of these services can potentially work on your behalf. And one more example here is if anyone is playing around with AI, and by the way, I'm using Claude Code to build Vetted right now, but if you're playing with AI, that's all controlled by keys and secrets and tokens and access keys and things like that. Vetted is the perfect way to be able to manage the AI's access to those secrets on your behalf, because you can store it in your vault and you can basically divvy out, or anytime it wants access to something, it has to come to you to ask. And this allows you to have guardrails or breaks on what you might let an AI agent do on your behalf, because you now have control over the critical data bits that govern your online life.
Okay. That sounds very geeky, and I have no idea. So this is what I need to know. Let's get a use case.
Yep.
You know, I want my first question, you know, off air, and I think it's a good question for the audience.
Sure.
Is it a cloud storage of actual data? You know, I have big, you know, video files. I got damn, you know, you do Dropbox, and then you got Dropbox issues, and, you know, and cost more. You got, you know, oh, you want to have 5 people access? Well, that'll be $1 gazillion, and, you know,
Yep.
you know, yada yada yada. So, and then it's, you know, it's kind of my data. You know, I just can't have it now, you know, or they got it. I'm good. In our recent DDoS attacks they're doing on us, and our email dispatch they're playing with, they're really, you drill down on it. Well, if you loaded up this Gmail, Google kind of allow thing, whatever, the skids are greased. It'll be for convenience, you know.
Of
And I'm
course.
like, never freaking mind. You know, we're good. We'll do our own thing. So fortunately, we got our Jedi ninjas, you know, working on it, and we're fine. But for me to store data, I didn't get the impression that it is for like a backup drive. It's not for me to put, you know, videos on, because the big thing is I have a video editor in another country. You know, for a lot of the videos we do for your Occupy the Land project that we're doing. We have another one coming up, Philosophy of Liberty thing that we're launching. We're putting all that in IPFS, you know. So that's like two things. One, a lot of people, especially with crypto, you know, keys and so on, they're all concerned about privacy. But a lot of times these crypto Bitcoins like GoldmanSachs.gov coin anyway, so never mind. You know, then, you know, we work on things like, you know, Xano we're working with, you know, at least the goal is to not broadcast every freaking thing. So I'm going, okay, well, on our projects, a lot of times there's art, there's video. The editor, she, of course, needs to have access to the videos that we got, and we need to transmit them. Well, you know, they may be 100, you know, megabyte, a gig, 2 gig, 5, whatever, you know, the videos, and you want to get high quality and do that, it's not going to go. So we transfer it, or you put it up on, you know, IPFS, and we send them a hash, and they got to download that, or, you know, that kind of thing. I didn't get the impression that's what this for. It's not for putting large amounts of data. It's like a cloud drive or something like that. It's for securing your data, but I'm still not clear how. So for grandpa, okay, you know, non-geek lingo layman freaking man, don't get all acronym on me. I need to know that I got vetted on my machine. Why?
Okay.
How would I use it? What's it good for?
Sure. So a couple of different things. Let me start out first off with talking about data. There are different types of data. When you're talking about like images and text files and video files and things like that, those are considered typically like documents or files. Those are larger things that you might store and share with people. And that's one classification of storage. And there are lots of different kind of storage services or drive services that you can use, or even open source things like IPFS that can host that. But what I'm talking about is a little bit different, because outside of those files as data, you also have metadata and personal information or personal data. And then you've got secrets. And there are even some other classifications too, but personal information, for example, is just what defines you from, your first name, your middle name, your last name, your address, your phone number, your email address, those types of details about you. Secrets can include things like crypto keys. So the keys that you need for all the different blockchains you just listed, each one of those, you need a private key in order to access the assets that you have on that chain. And you have to store that private key somewhere. And so a private key is considered a secret. Other types of secrets could be encryption keys. So the keys that you use to encrypt a video file. So for example, if you wanted to securely share a file on IPFS, first off, you need to have the video. Then from some sort of a process, you need to get a key and use that key to encrypt that file so it scrambles up the bits, or at least what people see. And then you need a way to be able to share the corresponding key with the people that you want to be able to decrypt that data. So what Wiz is doing is making it easy to manage the encryption key to encrypt and decrypt that data and provide that to you and other members and other services to be able to make use of, but doing it in a completely secure way so that you have control over it and not someone else, not some other kind of cloud service. And let me give you a kind of an example, just a very simple rudimentary one. You sign up for Vetted. Now, you're not going to run anything vetted on your computer per se. It's actually your mobile phone. Your phone ends up becoming your primary interface for anything security related that you do online. It provides you with a completely secure way to be able to call friends and family. You can do messaging, you can do video calls, and I'm just leveraging kind of known best practices, but making sure that there's a secure encryption layer that keeps it private between you and the other entity. So I didn't have to reinvent the wheel, I just needed to implement it properly. So if on that phone, in addition to the ability to communicate like that, I'll also be able to receive messages from different services that I'm connected to. So if I have a bank account that's connected up to it, I basically can receive, if someone's trying to do a transaction for $500, I can get a notification in Vetted that says, hey, do you authorize this transaction? It gives you complete visibility into it. It gives the bank the opportunity to verify with you that you want the transaction. And there's a complete audit trail based on cryptography that allows everyone to feel confident that there's no fraud happening. If you and I are connected, so you've got the app loaded on your phone, I've got the app loaded on my phone, and maybe we're doing business, I want to buy a car from you or something, and I've got some Bitcoin. Through the app, part of what I can do is I can publish what I call a public profile that just goes to the people I'm connected with. And as part of that, I can put in any of the public keys, basically the address for my Bitcoin wallet or Ethereum or whatever I need. And with that, when you ask me for the $10,000 to buy the car, I don't have to get your key from you. Automatically, it's populated in the app because it pulls over from what you've already published that no one can modify except for you. And so it makes it very easy for us to do any type of online transaction, person to person, without needing anything else involved besides kind of that vetted vault that's handling the communication between the two of us. Does that make sense?
Well, I'm trying to see what's unique about it rather than, like an Edge wallet.
Yep.
It's this. I give you here. Let me give this example, audience. See if you can help. This is in the early days, and you're what? You're in your 50s. You got gray. You've been around a while. You remember the 90s.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this example, and it may or may not apply, but it kind of gives you an understanding of what I'm hearing. When email lists first started in the mid-90s or so, and people were starting to get on, a bunch of libertarian, anarchists, voluntarist, activists of whatever were out there, and the internet was dominated by libertarians. It was amazing. You could get on, like freedom-oriented whatever list to ask any question, and you'd have from every occupation somebody perfectly willing to share with you. It was like, and you didn't need Facebook. There was no Facebook.
Not when you had to use that.
15 years before Facebook. So when you would ask a question, get an answer, it could come from a scientist, a doctor, a lawyer, someone a construction worker that was actually used the material of whatever the hell and dealing with the government of something. It was amazing. Mm-hmm. Then here come the bots and trolls. Okay.
Yep.
It was always an attempt to control, to glean, to get, to fraud, to whatever. Grandma gets on Facebook and she's giving $300,000 to Nigeria or whatever. So this is how PGP came about. What was his name? Zimmerman or something. And so we saw a use case for PGP. One thing was just to piss off the NSA and the bad guys before no such agency back then. There is no such thing, you tinfoil hat, until they want you to know they're there. And then you have there was the ability to encrypt emails. Now, in that email, in the SIG line, you had the public key, the public key, and then there was the private key. Now, if you put out the public key, then and they would send you an email with the public key, only you could read it. You put the private key in, and you'd read it. You have private communication. Well, we would encrypt a bunch of emails and put, title it, how to overthrow the government, and it'd be a biscuit recipe or something. So I don't know how much time they spent. It was just fun you guys can go after it all you want from, freaking libertarians and have fun. We don't care. Because I'm more about publicity. Privacy, I understand, but I've given up on privacy a long time ago, and I'm like, looking for everybody, all the FBI agents. I need them to surveil me because they got to change them every 2 weeks because they get convinced. They go native. They go, oh, that guy's going. I'm with that. No, next FBI agent's got to be on the signal, retention. So I'm more about publicity. I want to make sure it's available. That's why IPFS, is a big thing that we're using. It's always there. They can't censor it. There, I got it. Boom, done. Bob's your uncle. So I'm going, okay. The thing that the PGP was really good. It was right before an election cycle, and I think it was 94 or 96 election cycle was going on. And what had happened is there was a activist. His name was Knox, and his father was famous on the board of directors, NRA or something like that. And he would do all of this stuff. Libertarians kind of dominated the gun because the Republicans, we just against Democrats. Vote for this gun grabber, assault weapon ban kind of Republican because he's not Democrat kind of crap. So we're out there. What, are you freaking kidding me? Well, Knox would send out these emails for local, state, federal races and so on. This is what's going on. He's very influential. We need this. Everybody go vote for whatever. So the NRA, lifetime, whatever he says, I go, okay, he's got a good reason. I just go vote for whatever. Well, they were spoofing him. They would do emails and say it was him. Well, so then what happens is he puts out PGP using the private key, so only the public key would decrypt it. So they knew it was him, okay? It wasn't somebody else. I got the public key. Everybody knows that if he encrypts it with the private key, that it's coming from somebody that they really followed and trusted. So I'm going, okay, there's that. When you're talking about this, I'm thinking in kind of those lines, that it is a transmission with two parts of the encryption. One is one you trust because you know it's good because you got the public key for it. You got the private key that they can, tell it's you, or you can decrypt. They send you a message with the public key, and then you decrypt it. So this is where my mind's at in an advancement of that use case of what you're doing. How far off am I?
You're exactly on target. The only difference is Vetted is a modern implementation of what you would do with PGP, and it's easier to use with a lot of security enhancements. So what you're talking about is all fundamentally built into Vetted in terms of private key exchange between us. So if you're using Vetted and I'm using Vetted, And the reason why I call it vetted, by the way, is because it's meant to create a vetted communication channel between you and the people that you trust. So when we establish that connection, there is a key exchange performed, and that's based on
which one?
Public keys.
The private key or the public key?
They're only published in our internal network, the connection that you and I have. On top of that, we also generate an additional connection key pair that gets rotated regularly that's used to encrypt the communication between us. So we save one key pair specifically for your identity, and then we use rotating key pairs for the communication that you and I do. So it's a constantly evolving or protean attack surface if someone were able to even get at some of the ciphertext.
Do I have to get those new matching keys, or do I have one master that does all of them?
That's your protean credential. That's what gets you into vetted. Your password for vetted gives you control over all of these keys being rotated and exchanged with everything else that you're doing, but you don't have to be aware of it, and you don't have to worry about managing it, but you're in complete control.
All right. I need a non-geek use case here, okay? So we have encryption of access to the data, encryption of access to the communication pipeline, and we have what's being shared between two people is what? The private key of each of us, the public key of the data we want, each want that somehow we both can access. Which one? Let's get public and private, part one, part two, however you want to do it, so I can follow this.
So so first off, when I said public profile, that's in the context of the kind of the vetted environment. So nothing that you provide to vetted will be made available to anyone to see unencrypted online kind of anywhere. Essentially, the public profile is when I input my personal data, when I put my name and email address and maybe my address and phone number and things like that. When I connect with the people that I feel comfortable connecting with, I can specify some amount of that data that I'll automatically share with them. By default, you have to share your first name, your last name, your email address, and we assign you, it's generated automatically by your vault, private key with a corresponding public key. With that, the public key for your profile.
Wait, before you go further, when you say I got to give my name and email, is this encrypted data or is this open?
It's all entirely encrypted.
Okay, it's encrypted. I tell you, let me walk you through this because you're way above my small brain. All right, here we go. I am going to use vetted. Mm-hmm. I have my editor. Okay.
Yep.
And I want to. I'm going to pay her crypto, or I'm going to. Whatever the hell we're going to do, I want to be private because, I need to, communicate with my son. Hey, man, I need to use your safe. Got a little bit too much something, I need to whatever. And I'm going on vacation and on these dates and I want to store my guns or silver, or whatever. Okay. So I do this. Well, I communicate. I don't want anybody to know when I'm leaving, doing whatever and kind of something. So. Yep. He has to be signed up with vetted. We both have to have vetted accounts.
Yep.
Right? Okay. Now, the data that, the communication line between the two of us, we go on and I open a communication line with that has my public information up there so he knows that it's me, I guess. But both of us are going to have to use some kind of communication, access, opening, encryption to open that encrypted pipeline of communication. How far off am I?
You're pretty close. There are a couple of things here. The first thing I want to point out, and this is actually very key from a security perspective, when you talk to your son using vetted, your app is not actually directly talking to his app. The only thing that you talk to is your vault. Your vault becomes kind of your, little automatron or robot online. So you talk to the vault. You tell the vault what to do. When you connect to your son, it's actually your vault connecting to his vault, but you both controlling it to say, yes, I allow the connection or no, I don't. Now, when you first establish that connection, you're either going to give him like a QR code or a little text via email or something that he'll click on that'll open up in the app, and it'll say, hey, Ernest Hancock, first name Ernest, last name Hancock, email address, whatever, is asking if you'd like to connect. Do you want to do this? At the same time, when he receives that and opens it up, he's automatically sending you a similar invite so you can look at his profile. The public keys that are in there are displayed, so you could actually do verification, but you don't even necessarily need to do that if I've sent you the connection and you're connecting through the app, because what ends up happening is all the communication between the app and the vault is all done using unique encryption. The keys are basically generated in the vault, and the public keys that are needed to encrypt data to send over to the vault are sent over to your app, and the app basically can only encrypt stuff to send over to the vault, and then it can also receive encrypted communications back. But it creates this process where through that use of keys, everything is encrypted at each step along the way. And where appropriate, we actually rotate the keys. So like the problem that Knox had, where someone got a hold of his private key and was able to put up those messages, that's not possible in a
No, they didn't
system.
have his private key. They just put it up, say they were him. He
Yep.
encrypted with his private key, so people that had the public key knew it was him.
Yep. So that's another situation. In that case, I was a little off, but in any case, people won't be able to steal your private key because it's locked inside of the vault. And this is where it's a little bit of a mind bender, but it actually works, and it's kind of fantastic.
No, I'm sure once I understand
vault,
you get done explaining it, I can explain it in 15 seconds because I'm not a geek. But I got to understand it first. So Keep going, man.
So basically, when Vetted sets up a vault for you, it's basically just setting up a little kind of database, if you will, on a server somewhere that runs in this secure environment that can't be modified. Now, when you enroll for your vaults to get that issued, you create a PIN code. That PIN code is used as part of the seed to create an encryption key for all of the data that is going to go into your vault. All of that encryption key information ends up being stored inside of the vault itself. Once that encryption is set up with the PIN code, then I create a credential that I apply a password to. What that password does is it unlocks the vault process to then be able to use that encrypted data that's being stored. So literally, once you've enrolled, no one besides the person who knows that password, even if I know the PIN code, all I can do is start up your vault process. Unless I have your credential and can actually type in your password, then I can't actually do anything with that vault. Now, the reason why this is significant is because I can do automation around that vault process to have it perform transactions for me automatically. So maybe you want to schedule paying different people with cryptocurrency, at different points. I can automate that process, keep it completely secure. So instead of someone sending you an invoice message that gets phished, that includes a link to, some random wallet, you always know, the crypto wallet that your son put up for payment purposes. You always have instant access to that updated information, and it's always going to go to that person. So what makes this really kind of different is the keys and everything, like all of the complexity around it is really abstracted out. So you think more about the activities that you want to do securely and privately, and then the technical bits to actually encrypt it and do the transfer and so forth. It's all completely transparent behind the scenes. So I don't know if you remember working with PGP and what a pain it would be to kind of get your mail configured and the clients for the different apps that you had to configure in order to tap into the key. This makes it really simple for that to really proliferate. So with Vetted, even though it's just kind of the starting point, the reason why I use kind of that tower with a keyhole as the logo is because this is meant to be a secure foundation for you online that from there you can actually then connect out to other services, but it keeps you in complete control, and you don't have to rely on a third party to allow you to do things. Because what we saw during COVID, for example, is communications would get shut down and different services would get shut down when they didn't like what you were saying. So how do we fix that? Well, you need to be able to encrypt it so they can't see it. And the first step is, how can I manage the keys to do that? And then maybe what can I do to create a service that allows us to communicate and control those keys in a way that we can feel comfortable with? Because once again, I'll go back to Telegram.
Let me go ahead and ask a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Start to get off. Once I open up the communication line, what's the limitation and the mechanism for is transmitting ones and zeros of voice, or maybe video too, or whatever it is?
Voice, video, text,
okay.
any types of data that you would put in your credential, and that could include things like private keys, certificates that you might need for different purposes.
Okay, wait. So when I open up that communication pipeline, is it live?
Yes.
Okay, so it's like FaceTime or something.
Yep.
Okay.
It basically, now, I'm using encrypted WebRTC for the communication, which is the same stuff that all of the other online services use. The only difference is we're putting a unique cryptographic wrapper around it, so it's uniquely encrypted to ensure it's going to be secure.
What's the limit on the amount of data?
So I've actually, when it comes to like video communication, I'm using Cloudflare's turn and stun servers. Those are basically the things that you can use online in order to transmit that data. So there's really no limit there. You can run a FaceTime style video talk with another person. Now, and I should point out, Vetted is designed
I transfer
for
a file?
one-to-one.
Once I got it open, can I transfer? Hey, I'm online. You online? Okay, get ready to receive. Boom. Here's the video.
So it's not meant to send over the files themselves, but it can send over links to URLs and things. So that's where you could basically drop a link to IPFS, or someone could actually integrate in with Vetted and create kind of a service that leverages the encryption that we provide to provide the link to the encrypted version of that data, along with access to the participants for the keys to that data, so that only they could see it. And it would all be done securely.
Okay. Tell me why you created this. There was a use case. There was something that we got to, and I can, so I am, and I did.
Yep.
Help me out. Why?
So everything that we do online right now is controlled by bits of data that we have little to no control over. It's private keys, it's personal information, and all of that is being used against us actively. It's either used for building profiles, like psychological profiles against us, or used to manipulate us. It's used essentially in manners that are not for our benefit.
So AI has a customized, commercial meme for just you to get you to something. Got it.
Yeah, the whole point is we're all basically forced to be, serfs on a big tech kind of land grant where they let us use the services and different things like that. And for people like yourself, where you're standing up IPFS nodes and so forth, that's something that is an option, but it's pretty difficult. You run into the situations now trying to secure it and manage the patch levels and ensuring that you're not getting hacked and so forth. So for the average person, that can be more difficult. The goal with Vetted is to make security and privacy and create a foundation of security and privacy for the average person online that can then be extended so that they can start building a private and secure and trusted experience online using services that respect their privacy, respect their data, that will be more secure, and can provide you with a higher degree of control than you'll be able to get elsewhere.
Okay, in what applications, though? I'm like, is it for me to log into and make use of, Telegram or SMS or on my phone? I'm going to how does it protect me? You're protected. Yep. But can I use it? I mean, how am I protected?
So from a protection standpoint, the first thing is all of the functionality, because it's an open source project and all of the code is posted online, anyone can take a look and see what the code does and understand whether or not there are any problems. And as part of the ongoing project, we'll be paying security researchers and auditors to review it on a regular basis. In addition to having that code be completely transparent, we then are compiling it and running it in a secure environment where it can't be modified. It literally mathematically can be proven that it's not tampered with, and all of your data stays within that secure enclave environment.
See, you keep saying that, all my data. You don't want all my data.
Well, sorry.
Okay? So you got to be specific. It is for what data? We're talking, 15 kilobytes or something? What? Okay?
So,
what data? What am I limited to? Data. How big data? What am I doing with this data? How am I accessing or using it to access other stuff? Data. You say all my data, you don't mean all my data. Okay? What are you talking about?
This goes back to the conversation we had a little bit ago in terms of the different types of data. I'm talking about your metadata, which is data that can be used to understand kind of who you are. Your personal data that actually identifies you, so your name, your address, your social security number, your driver's license, your credit card, all of those things that might float around online and might be needed for different types of transactions. I'm talking about your minor secrets, so secrets that might be used for file encryption or API access tokens to use different applications, or even passwords for different services and applications. Or your critical secrets, like your private keys for cryptocurrencies, and having those available to you in a very secure way. Now, what we're doing with VettID is basically taking that collection of data, and generally we're talking about typically a few megs to maybe a few hundred megs worth of data, but it could be gigs. It's not the end of the world to have something larger, but it's not meant for document style data. Now, the reason why I'm focusing on those secrets, that personal data, that metadata, is that's the most critical stuff to you online. That's what's used to profile you. That's what's used in data breaches in order to then start doing identity attacks and spoofing and things like that. Those are the things that create complexity for you online by needing to have usernames and passwords unique to each and every site. So what VettID provides is I create almost my own digital ID. The only difference is I define what's in the ID. And with that, if I connect into a service, I can now, when I want to go log into my online banking, if I'm connected via VettID, I go just type in my username for online banking. I get a little notification in VettID that says, hey, the bank is asking if you want to log in. Do you want to? You click OK, you're logged into the website. And then I don't have different usernames and passwords and things for different sites. I already have a VettID connection. I can just provide that username, and then all of a sudden, the VettID app on my phone with my credential allows me to then be able to authenticate for any type of a service or application, and I don't have 500 different passwords to remember or a password manager.
Okay, let me give you a use case here, maybe something, we can use a use case here. All right, let's look at the screen. Here's my website, okay?
Yep.
I need to get into the back end. I got to log in. We have a bunch of subscribers. I'm going to subscribe. Boom. I hit log in. There, there's my login. Okay?
Yep.
Publisher at freedomsphoenix.com, password. Boom. I hit log in.
Yep.
How would your service interface with this?
So basically what we have on the back end is what we call a service vault. And the service vault, it allows you to take your website and add a little button underneath that login that says login with VettID. You basically put in your email address that's associated with your VettID account. And then all of a sudden, once you click on authenticate or log in with VettID, you get a little notification popping up on your phone that says, hey, Freedom's Phoenix is asking you to log in. Do you approve this? You can say yes or no. You say yes. It sends the authentication details back to your back end saying, hey, this passed. And then you're logged into the site. And with this, the benefit is that password that your password manager is filling in, someone can swipe that. That's exposed at some point because you at least have to put it into a browser. The difference is with VettID, I could still maybe need to log into your Freedom's Phoenix website, but that could actually be done by me using a private key inside of my vault to be able to prove my identity to the Freedoms Phoenix website. So there's different ways that this can be done.
All right. Here's another example.
Yep.
Freaking Gmail, okay? Google sons of bitches, all right? So they're always wanting, we gotta do because we gotta do. We're gonna log you in and put this password here. I got a bunch of passwords. The passwords coming out my butt passwords. Yep. So I go in and I'm like, how much do I really want to? Is there any way that I could use Vetted to do this, or do they have to accept Vetted?
They would need to accept Vetted, because what Vetted does is really beneficial for the organization too, because it creates a secure channel of communication that's known and good between you and that service, but they need a service vault in order to be able to get the two connected up.
Okay. So the use case you're promoting, how long has this been up? You're just starting to roll this out?
So I literally, I worked on the design for quite some time. I actually got started realistically in October of 25. So it's just been a couple of months. At this point, I've got the front end account site set up. It's also mobile reactive. So you can log in, or you can enroll, you can log in, you can configure your account, and then you can launch the app to actually set up your vault. I also have an administrative kind of back end to be able to manage the users and manage the environment. And I have the Vault Enclave, basically the secure piece up and running right now with iOS and Android apps connecting into it. And at this point in time, what I'm doing is just validating the data storage. It's a little bit tedious kind of testing, just making sure, when I save a value to a particular place, I get it back clean and everything. But I've made pretty good progress, and on my own, I'm probably looking at another couple of months of work, because I do have a full-time job. I'm doing this just kind of part-time evenings and weekends when I have time. In a few months, I'll probably 4 to 5 months, I'll have it done on my own. But what I'm really looking for are people to help me with it, because this is meant to be a project that benefits everyone. And in particular, I've had a few people take a look at my Nitro Enclave documentation that's available on GitHub, and it looks to be really as close to perfect as I can tell from a security perspective. So I'm cautiously optimistic there might be some cryptographers in your audience that can go to github.com/vetted and take a look at the docs and that Nitro architecture doc and let me know what you think, because if that works the way that I think it does, and what I'm implementing right now, then we all have a very simple and secure way to manage all those keys and tokens and things that are really necessary to be able to have a modern existence, but also keep us in control.
Vetted, VETTID, VettID. Okay?
Correct.
So 2 T's, VettID. Now, and what is it, .com?
I've got VettIDorg for just the main site, but I've also got VettID.dev, DEV, and that is what eventually will make it to production. I just set up the second site so I can develop against it, and I'll probably be ready for beta within another month or two with core functionality going. I'm paying for it out of pocket right now, so I'll be able to support probably 100 to 150 users on a single server to start with. But if I can get volunteers to help and some donations for some of the hosting pieces, then I think we can move a little bit faster and do a bit bigger of a beta.
VettID.org, 2 T's. Okay.
Yep.
So.
And one more thing I should mention, you might get a kick out of this. I also have a document in my GitHub that is for the secure voting that I've implemented and vetted. It's all perfectly secure and mathematically verifiable and completely private. So,
oh hell no, they're not going to want that. You can't be accurate in voting. You're so definitely not getting that contract. But anyway,
the beauty of it is you cast your vote, and when the vote is done, we publish a Merkle tree. It's basically just some math. And you can actually scan the code for that Merkle tree with your phone and tell, yes, my vote was counted, and the tally is correct. No one else can see that, but you can validate it.
Definitely not going to allow that. You know, you know my concern. You know, this is we're not done. You know, I just wanted to make sure any of the developers out there and people interested in this kind of working on something that's VettID, vet, 2 T's, VettID.org. So you can contact out there. Now, I'm still trying to wrap my head around the actual need for this. You wanted to do this because, and in this method, for what specific use case? Because I can't, you know, I have to have a vet account and I have to have a place that I'm logging into that also allows for the vet credentials to be able to log in.
Yep.
So this is, I'm trying to think of the use case for this, and then, but a lot of times we have like, you know, Signal is so great and wonderful, and Telegram and all this, and I knew, I'm going, no, nothing is. And then it was years ago that there was some pedophile on, give me a moment, there was some pedophile on trial in Florida or something that the lawyers go, how did you know, you got to show us. You can't just accuse them and say we knew in probable cause from what, you know? Well, Once they started, the judge said, you got to show them on the and charges dropped. They did not want them to know how they had cracked Signal. So I'm going, well, there you go there. Well, you know, it's, you know, Telegram, if it's a group thing, you can encrypt it. You know, not the private there, but group, that's a ticket. Group, I'm going, you know, you guys are all so full of shit, your ears stink, okay? I'm just like, no. I know, I freaking know better. So using encryption, it's worked pretty well for blockchain and, you know, and crypto, but then you got, you know, the seed phrases, you got to write down something, you know, you got to bury something, you got to tattoo something on your horse's lips or something. I mean, you know, you got to something. So this is, you know, you have an easy way of identifying yourself, having other people be identified, then have an encrypted tunnel pipeline of voice and video communication. Could be better than not.
Other activities.
Wow, define other activities.
That could be anything you want to do with some personal data. And I'll give you an example.
Please.
We can talk about like crypto transactions. We can also talk about, let's use an example of API keys that you might need for an online service. So a lot of things now that are, you know, AI based, they might need an API key in order to access something. You can place that API key into your vault. You could then make that API key available to your son if he asks for it, or to an AI if they ask for it, but you can maintain control over it. So when your son wants to borrow the API key, and we'll just say, for example, it's to access, you know, Netflix to watch something, you're going to get a little pop-up on your phone that says, hey, you know, his son is asking to look at Netflix or use this key. Do you agree?
Don't do it.
Similar. So, but you're in complete control. Similarly, if an AI
but that Netflix key has to accept the credentials from vetted, right?
Correct. You need there needs to be that.
So this is an ecosystem that you need to build.
Yeah, and that's. We have the Service Vault code ready to go. I need to work with some folks to just set up some sample services to show you what it looks like. But literally, there's plumbing that's there that allows you to put vetted and connect it up to any existing applications that you might have. So instead of having to create your own user database and maintaining all sorts of information, you just create a simple list of, hey, these are the people who have connected with vetted. Anytime they need to get your name or your email address or your phone number or things like that, when you connect, you kind of come to terms. You create what I call a connection contract that says, I agree to give you this data on demand. If I ask for this data, you can say yes or no. And based on that, the centralized application doesn't have to store all sorts of personal information. It can just request it when it needs it. And this completely changes the security model. So now, if someone were to breach an application somewhere, your personal data is not at risk because you're controlling it. The only thing they could potentially look to do is say, oh, well, let me try to control their vault and communicate with everyone and grab all of that data. But that's also something that the service vault can identify, because it's not going to be common for someone to go out and try to harvest data for every single person out there all at once. So there's all sorts of kind of checks and balances put in place, but it ends up allowing you to have complete control over it rather than relying on someone else. And to get back to your earlier point, and this is super important, what makes Vetted different than Signal, than Telegram, than anything else out there is the hardware attestation that we can do because we're using those Nitro enclaves in AWS. What that essentially does is, just like the blockchain gives you
Enclave in AWS. I have no idea what you're talking about.
AWS, Amazon Web Services. And there are other services that offer similar secure enclave setups. AWS is just the easiest one for me to work with right now. So, and with the code, it could be actually applied kind of anywhere, even on proper hardware if you wanted to do it that way. But with this, because of that hardware enclave, that secure enclave, you don't have to trust me. You don't have to take my word for it. You don't have to wonder, hey, is there some back door here? The code is completely published. The code is compiled. And when it's compiled, it's done in a secure manner so it gets signed. And then that code is put into production. So literally every time your app starts up, it's validating the backend vault and saying, hey, you told me your name was Bob before. Is it still Bob? It's a lot more complicated than that. There's, some signatures and keys and things that we're checking, but you don't have to trust me. I have no access to your data. No one besides you will have access to that data, or anyone that if you were to tell someone your password, which would be a bad idea, and give them your credential, then they could access it. But literally outside of the person that has the password, no one else can touch what you've got.
Okay, I'm still trying to get a use case that you developed this for that's existing, or you're trying to create your own ecosystem for it to be used.
Yeah, the use case for myself is I want secure communications with my friends and family. I want to be able to have easy cryptocurrency transactions with my friends and family to send a few coins here and there. And the current model is just broken. It's not usable for the majority of the population. 99% of the people out there don't know how to secure a Bitcoin private key. But if we're moving towards stable coins and other things that all rely on private keys, this creates a complete mess for society. The point of freedom is to actually help other people get it too. And so from a technical standpoint, it doesn't do any good if you and I and a few more technical folks can actually do a good job at managing private keys and using crypto. If we can't bring other people with us and make it usable and feasible for them in a secure and simple way, then all is for naught. So my impetus is, I see where the future is going. One, I see that there's lots of places trying to implement like a digital ID. Well, I'm not interested in government-issued digital ID, but I'm also not happy about the lack of security, privacy, and trust online. So what can I do to improve security, privacy, and trust online? How about allowing you to create a digital ID that you own and control and dictate, and then you can determine what you do with it, and that provides the secure foundation for everything that you might be looking to do moving forward. So it is a different paradigm because it's a different way of kind of thinking. But this is what Vetted is what will make blockchains and Web3 usable and functional for the majority of the population.
Okay. Let me give you another word picture, use case, and maybe it'll spark something. And that, all right, let me explain it this way. We were promoting decentralization of everything. After, the Levolution, and so it became obvious, crypto came right when we were pushing silver dime cards. We were doing silver. So I'm still a big silver guy. But, here comes crypto. Pinky swear it's private. Pinky swear it's going to be low transaction fees. It's going to be digital peer-to-peer cash. And then it turns into GoldmanSachs.gov coin. So I'm just going, okay, how would this be you blockchain? I could see that there's a lot of use cases for it. Certainly, from a libertarian freedom standpoint, kind of things that you're talking about. So I'm going, all right. There was a company that I was friends with, and they went to the Philippines, and they wanted to have digital ID for everybody, for everything, but because they're freedom-oriented, they wanted to make it to where the person controlled when the officer pulled you over going to give you a speeding ticket, your national ID. He didn't need your medical records. He didn't need your hashes. He didn't need your, I have right here is my proof, registration, driver's license, that's all you get. Okay?
Yep.
That's what, the cop button. Boom, there you go. It's encrypted, it's good. So they're like, oh, that's cool. Then here comes IBM and friends. Oh, no. You're doing it wrong. We need to have the punch cards so we can, go round up all the Jews or something, okay? So I'm just going, all right. So it's obvious to me that the government doesn't want this kind of stuff. They want what they want, which is control.
Yep.
So in the mindset of a digital ID, if we have it private, then I get to determine what goes in and out. Well, that's
Bingo.
where your blue check mark crap comes on Twitter and X, and then are you verified? Are you got woohoo? Look at me, I'm verified. I'm the whatever. Like I care, but what if there was a way to verify so that you didn't get your name, your account spoofed on Telegram, which has happened? Okay,
of course.
All of a sudden you get a prominent, like Roger Ver. I'm friends with Roger. He goes, oh, Roger says, the hell it was. One, I know this is not what Roger would say, but they get their little verified, their little check mark, their little something. Then Elon goes, yeah, it costs you $8 a month. No, can't do that. We don't want to have. So this really impacted when it became X. All of a sudden, all these newspapers and all the bots and all the BS accounts and all the flood of crap, garbage in, garbage out, to impact AI. AI is reading all this Reddit X crap of, 200 million people think this. So that's the answer. And I'm going, no, it's not, okay? So if you have a vetted, and you can just name it that, it's Signal, Telegram, vetted. You could have your technology using, because you have the site, the communication. You want to communicate, blockchain hashes, addresses of private, whatever the hell. Can I do that on Signal or Telegram? No. Now Telegram maybe, but they arrest them. They'll throw your ass in jail. They're going to say, Al, you're going to have to explain it to us and put it in with what, then we'll know, okay? But having a communication platform, not just vetted, that it's a use case for that. You go in and it's a communication platform. Works and every one of the people that goes in there is already vetted. You have private communications. You got the private text. You got the encrypted voice. You could do. It seems like what you have developed is already the mechanism by which you could verify that it's them, whatever information you want to have up there, and that they know it's you. So I'm going, well, build that. I mean, hell, I'm all over that, So, why do you want, everybody else to, be able to, you signed in with them and they do, and then they got to have it on, and I get this private, go, screw that shit. Just do your own chat thing. I'm in. Let's do it. How far off am I?
For one-to-one communications, that you're exactly correct. Basically, we would be a replacement for things like Signal, like Telegram, iMessage and things like that, being a completely secure and completely private alternative to that provides you with that trusted communications. And when we talk about vetted, first off, you need to do kind of your own vetting, what I mean by that is if someone random asks you if you want to connect, you need to be smart enough to know that you shouldn't be doing that with people that you don't have a reason to communicate with. But once you do communicate with that person and you're comfortable to say, okay, Ernie, I know you, we're connected, then everything we do from that point moving forward will be completely private, completely secure. We don't have to think about anything. And from like an identity standpoint, part of the beauty of Vetted is you can actually have certificates and private keys that might be issued by third parties placed into your credential. And I'll give you an example why this matters. Let's say the local state government is going to start handing out digital certificates or private keys that represent your driver's license, so you can digitally show what your age is and things like that.
Insurance companies are already doing that stuff.
Yep. Well, here's what happens. You put that key or that certificate into your vault. Once it's in your vault or in your credential, when you need to prove your age, you basically, the other entity can say, hey, I need you to prove that you're over 21. They send the request. Your vault basically requires you to provide your password to say, yeah, it's me, Ernie, and then it signs the request, and through that signature, you can actually verify and validate that I'm 18 or over 21, I should say, without having to examine my documents. This could be done for any type of activity for verification purposes where some identity provider, I don't care who it is, can issue you some sort of a digital key or token or certificate. You can store that, and then now you control when it's presented. Versus if someone's going to give you a government-sponsored identification, like digital ID, it's not going to be super secure. They'll say it is, but they're using kind of traditional means, and they're controlling what you can do with that and whether or not they're going to share different bits of information. With Vetted, it ends up being completely in your control. So my whole kind of thought process here is I'm not worried about kind of anonymity and things like that. I want a strong assertion of identity and to say, yes, I'm Al Liebl, but I have the rights to connect, communicate, and transact securely and privately online. So buzz off. What I do, once I'm connected, that's my personal business. Now, I don't look to support kind of anonymity per se from the perspective of, yes, it's important for dissidents and other things, but anonymity is where you get into that situation with like bots and things like that, because if you don't have some minimal way to verify some identity, then all bets are off in terms of what you're dealing with. So with Vetted, you have to use a mobile device to interact with it. So you're going to rule out, some element of
200,000 Chinese SIM cards.
Yep, it's great. It's great that you got those SIM cards. You still need vaults to go with it. You need credentials to go with it. And those vaults and credentials are constantly evolving. So it creates this perfect storm of just a ball rolling downhill that they're never going to be able to catch up to, because every time you do something with Vetted, it changes the security profile of what you're doing. It updates it. So it's constantly evolving. And that's why I call it a protean credential, how you authenticate, because every time after I use the credential, it looks a little bit different than what it looked like before, because it's literally just ratcheting forward each and every time. So it makes it very, very near impossible to attack, or if someone does like intercept it and tries to do something with it, it creates a race condition between you and the bad guy. So whoever uses it first kind of wins. But if you use it before they do, what they stole becomes completely useless, and they can spend as much time as they want trying to decrypt and everything else. But you've already moved on because your vault now has a new version of the credential.
Okay. What you're talking about is creating a parallel society.
Yep.
I get it. You can't have a parallel society without parallel tools, because
Correct.
They're going to say, we want, and whatever. And we just did a show today going on about, the legitimacy of government to begin with. Well, they're not. So, what do I care what they say? Well, there's some guy, with a gun to your head and is going to make you whatever. My legitimacy is this here bullet that can go in your brain. So you have to have a parallel services that, you get insurance, fire protection, health care, whatever it is that you access, private membership associations. Yep. So I can see it's not, like, well, if you want to do this, all these things you're talking about for I don't know, Social Security, welfare, what do you call the Medicaid, whatever. That's not really what this is for, because the government don't like it, okay? They're not going to, work out. Oh, yeah, let's work with Al. That's a good idea, Al. Let's work that together. Trump and JD, they're just going to, do you a solid. Hell no, okay? So we have the technology, and you, developing a mechanism that we can interface with our fellow human beings, certainly at a community level. This is what we're building here. We're working with, I go to Anarchapulco next month speaking on this very thing, so I might be able to bring this up. Send me a bunch of material. Maybe I'll sling it around. But the main thing is that we live out in the desert of, if they come out here, the clipboard, I'm at the end of the cow trail of, who'll build the roads, me and my tractor. That's what happened, okay? So, yep. I got 4 neighbors within 10 miles. I mean, I'm out there, but it's still a community. So we put up a mesh network. We got a relay on a mountain. We get 400 square miles of we're, back and forth communicating, and agri-stop market. We got, list your stuff. Go ahead and, I want to buy, I want to sell, I barter, I trade. They love me and Donna, like a good neighbor. Ernie and Donna's there because I got a backhoe. Well, I take my tractor out. Woo, gonna dig your septic, gonna, clean your flood damage, grade your road, and I get a deal on those fence posts over there, right? This kind of thing. So in a community level, which we're doing right, not later. We're doing it now. That's what I'm talking about. So I speak, that's what I'm promoting, because I understood exactly what you're talking about. You have to create parallel services, communication, barter, trade, commerce, and I don't need the man breathing down my neck all the time. Coming in, out in the middle of the desert, they'll come and close down my grandkids' lemonade stand. I mean, kiss my ass. Well, I get a lot out in the desert, amazingly. We get a lot of duck eggs. We have one of our neighbors has duck eggs. Trade a little bit of here, give you a little bit of that. Yep, I got my eggs. Cool. Donna's finishing up her, chicken coop. We used to have, where we lived in town, we had 50 chickens on a couple of acres we had in Phoenix. So I'm going, okay, I need this kind of communication. I need a community that I know who they are. I touchy-feelied them. We went to a meetup of whatever. I know where you live. And when I'm communicating with them, that it's them. I had Boston Tea Party, Ken Royce, he's an author, Boston's Gun Bible and all that kind of stuff. He wrote a book about, the police state and surveillance and privacy and all this other stuff. He is all private. Well, one time he was coming on the show, we were friends. He was coming on the show, and he picked the wrong time. He thought it was, the hour difference with the time zone, whatever. So he called in. I wasn't near my phone or whatever, it wasn't on. I go to the phone. Now, he was all private about using phone cards, these little cards that you do. Yeah, I'm private, he don't know. So I called back the number. I thought it might be him. I called back the number. He goes, how'd you get this number? I *69. What? There goes a whole chapter in my book, kind of thing, right? Yep. So I'm just going, and it's when you think you're private is when you get the shit kicked out of you, okay? It's when you wind up before the man, when you got him visiting you in the United Kingdom and you posted the whatever. It's always everybody thinks they're being private when they're really not. So I need a mechanism by which you may speak freely or not. I mean, I don't say anything I don't want my grandma and the FBI to know anyway, because I'm like, you guys suck, and I got a microphone. So, I mean, whatever. But the point is that I can see in a small communities that can link with other communities, that you go to festivals around, Porcupine Freedom Festival. You got 2,000 freaking people, a lot of agents there too. But I mean, people that you've known for a long time, that you trust in your inner circle, I can see the use for something like this. But it still is going to have to operate like a chat room kind of, which is kind of sounds like it almost does. But can you do group? Can you have 30 of your long lost, loving ex-girlfriends of whatever and family be in your friend Facebook group? They're my friends. I got 5,000 friends. I'm like, yeah, well, let's get it down to 5, okay? And then I can communicate, barter in my little community of whatever. So I'm trying to, that's why I kept in the pre-show, I was trying to get a use case that I can advocate for. What you're talking about is that a lot of times you have people that you're not really sure it's them, especially if it's AI. It's like 9/11 planes. Hell, I got called it was at 10,000 feet, and I'm getting a call from my son telling me whatever the hell. It was probably AI. Whatever we got now, they got back then. So this is, I need to have the credential thing. Well, I know that this can work. So I'm advocating for a communication platform.
So, and let me mention a couple of things. So first off, the communication that's built into Vetted today is based on one-to-one communication. For me to connect to you and communicate with you, and that might be via text messaging, it might be via voice messaging, it might be via video, could be crypto transactions. And really it's optimized for that one-to-one interaction. And the same thing with services that you might connect to. Having said that, when it comes to group interactions, that's actually something that I look at as kind of an add-on to the core Vetted functionality, because the idea with Vetted itself is to just handle the most critical things that you need to exist kind of online as an individual, and not necessarily go to kind of complete scope creep to build kind of the super app that you have to use for everything. Because what we want you to do is use Vetted as the secure kind of foundation where I can create a add-on to Vetted for group chat. It's actually a separate application. I can connect via Vetted into that application, and then that application can handle encryption keys and things, leveraging my vault for the storage and give me complete control. But my identity, when I connect into the chat service, it can actually verify that identity at that point in time to say, yes, this is this individual. That doesn't mean that the service would need to maintain your identity in terms of what you're displaying. So this gives you the opportunity to say, instead of showing everyone my first name, my last name, and my email address, perhaps I want a server that allows me to show me a user handle instead. So, I can.
No, I understand. It's just that you have to have the cooperation of the other mechanisms that you're vetting yourself with. I'm going, screw that. Have your own.
So here's the beauty of it. Once the core vetted services are running, it's actually not that difficult to build a group chat application in the cloud, especially when we're talking about the chat application itself not having access to the encrypted data that's being displayed to the actual user. So literally your chat app just creates a way to create these chat rooms that people can join using a vetted account, and then they can have those interactions, but it's not core functionality that Vetted needs to have, because this allows you to grow and change and adapt those chat rooms for the different things you might want for file sharing or video sharing or other types of collaboration. That can be done in a way that would never compromise the secure kind of foundation that everything is running on. Because with those, monolithic apps where, Elon wants to turn X into your everything app, that's great. But if that one everything app kind of breaks down or you have an issue with it, it affects kind of everything from a security perspective. You can introduce additional problems because you're adding too much functionality and just creating a larger attack surface. So with Vetted, it allows you to create a small, very defensible kind of foundation for you online. And then the goal is to be able to easily create additional add-on applications that can preserve that privacy and security using the foundational elements that Vetted offers. And one thing I haven't mentioned yet, but it's critical to understand, and one of the things that differentiates Vetted is not only does your vault and that secure enclave store your your secrets and your personal data and your metadata and things like that, it also has what I call event handlers. The event handlers are things that can perform actions on your behalf. So when you want to send, let's say, Bitcoin to your son, the event handler running in that secure enclave is actually what processes that transaction to put it on chain. And with that event handler, we can have any number of event handlers inside of that secure enclave to do all sorts of different activities. So it's also extensible, and part of the purpose for setting up Vetted as a member-owned cooperative is the goal here is to allow the members to vote on what functionality they'd like to see. I personally think it would be better to kind of keep the group piece a little bit separate just to give you more flexibility. But at the end of the day, once it's up and running, if there's member demand for it, then that's what the cooperative would look to do. So the goal here is to create a tool that meets everyone's needs, but we also want to ensure we maintain the integrity and the security and the privacy of that foundation.
Well, we've been, champion and, a lot of these guys, why, Tim would know that I'd want to talk to you, because we're, like the one we've been working on for a couple of years. I support it. I mint with it. They build me computers. I do Quartal, Qortal. But they're trying to create an entire freaking internet experience. We don't go on the internet. You need to put all your videos on QTube, and then you need to do, we got, instead of Twitter, it's called Quitter, or, that kind of thing. Well, they're impressive. They're doing it, but, damn. I mean, it's got, fine. You guys, you get it done. I'm all over it. I support, the idea. What you're doing is a small portion of that. It is all I want to do is to have a verified ID that it is you, okay? It's you to you, and whoever wants to know that it's you, okay? So that would be friends, family, and anybody else that, loves the technology, sees that it's working, it becomes popular. Yeah, our users are verified by Vetted. So Freedom's Phoenix, if we installed it on there, we could have people, which has been a problem. You do on the join, anybody can join to get the free access to our newsletter. Well, there's times that we get 50 gazillion, I mean literally hundreds of Gmails with a at gmail.com, c at gmail.com. Then they'll get the email dispatch and then complain it was spam, okay? So that they can that kind of crap. Well, if we made it to where, nope, it's got to be kind of vetted, well, then I get into where I open an account. I just had Peter Schiff on a couple days ago. He's going to be doing gold tokenization, tokenized gold. You just sign up and do the what and kind of get and do what. But, like you're saying, you need a little bit of ID. Send us a copy of your passport. We need a driver's license. We need you holding up today's newspaper. We need, there's going to be this kind of crap. So I'm going, okay, we need to have some kind of a validate. This is a problem. I've experienced the problems. I've had, since the beginning of PGP encryption, the problem. We have been advocating for solutions to the problem. Here is a private solution to the identification of a problem. Well, then when they do, you get your blue check mark crap or something like that. What is the basic need that you need? A birth certificate, a driver's license, or somebody you just met, saw? What is it? Is it up to the individual to determine what they need or accept, or just that they get, a hash? I mean, how does this work? Yeah.
It basically, my personal philosophy is I always want you in control. I want you to determine what you're going to share with other people or other organizations, and I want you to be able to define that. So when it comes to how you identify, if you want to, let's use the Peter Schiff example where they're talking about like tokenizing gold. So there are a couple of aspects to that. First off, you've got a KYC aspect, to know your customer, where that's where they want your passport and things, because for regulatory purposes, they have to confirm all this information. Well, if I can actually contain all of those details that they need inside of your vault, and when you want to do business with his new gold tokenization firm, XYZ company, instead of having to type in things and kind of share all sorts of documents and things, you go to his website, and say, hey, connect with Vetted. At that point, you get a little QR code or a link that you click on or scan, and that basically starts the connection process between your vault and their service. As part of that, the information needed for registration can be automatically shared, your name, your email address, your phone number, and those types of things. And then for that sensitive stuff like your passport details or your social security number or something, it can say, hey, we also need access to this. Do you approve? You don't have to type it in more than once when you first put it into Vetted into your vault. And then when you go to sign up, it gets automatically populated. And if something changes, maybe your email address changes or something, that can be automatically shared as part of your profile inside of Vetted. So now everyone has an up-to-date kind of contacts list. Now, on top of that, once you sign up for XYZ company for the tokenized gold, in order to access your tokenized gold, you're going to need a private key. So now where are you going to store that private key, and what are you going to do with it? With Vetted, it becomes easy because his company can say, Al, welcome aboard. We've set up this vault for you, or this wallet for you to access your tokenized gold. We're going to issue this private key directly to your vault and put it into your credential. So then I end up on my phone saying, hey, XYZ company is trying to send you this private key that you have complete control and ownership over. Do you want to take it? I say, of course, yes. At that point, I put in my password. That private key for that tokenized gold goes into my credential. And now I have 24/7 access to that tokenized gold in a very secure way. And I don't have to worry about losing anything. I don't have to worry about that seed phrase. The credential on my phone, we can maintain a backup of it in the cloud that only you can access. You end up having to have your password in order to be able to authenticate it against it anyway. And you actually have to have access to get into the vault with the mobile app in order to even be able to try to use the credential. So where you might be concerned about losing private keys, losing seed phrases, and other types of valuable bits of data, I've come up with a very clever way to be able to securely store it online, make sure no one can see it except for you, and then give you the control over what bits you share and how much is kind of automated. So it really, my big kind of idea here is I want the average person to be able to have a secure and private experience online without being burdened of having to set up a Quordle server. I basically goof around on the weekends, trying out different open source projects and things. And I played with Quordle and it's fun. And for technical people, it can be interesting. But at the same time, it's a bridge too far for the average person. So
no. I'm a grandma adjust button guy. I bitch to them all the time. So, but they're doing better, but yeah, I'm with you, brother. This is, which is why I get on your butt about acronyming me all the time. So this is, and you don't say it as much as a lot of other guys, but there's a couple of justs in there. And I go, that's one thing that when you're dealing with this technical stuff, well, you just, all right, come over here and show me this just button you guys keep talking about. I look like about 50 just buttons, okay? So I go, I need one grandma just button. This is why Edge Wallet, when it was Airbits, Paul Play and I became friends because everybody was, oh, you sound like Paul. You need to talk, because everybody was all proud of how techie, geeky, you got to hire me as your Bitcoin consultant kind of crap. You think it's going to scale that way? You think it's really, no, hell no. It needs to be simple. How simple is this going to be to use? Give me how many clicks I got to do to verify. Now, the first thing is it has to have a web page or an interface that accepts it. But for them to do that, they have to want to do that. Why would they want to do that? People want to identify themselves. They want it just to be them. They want it to always be them. You want it to be them. You got the account of, it's us and you go, all right, I'm willing to do that. They do the same thing with, X or whatever to get their check mark of I don't care. But what happens is it's always a government thing. It's how much, and then they dump it all in there, and it was hacked. They got their 23andMe. We got your DNA. We got your credit Bank of America, and it's gone. I'm going, man, it happens all the freaking time. So it's not like, well, you need a government version of whatever. We'll really keep your Social Security, private as we gave it to Palantir. So I'm going, no. So for a private service that can do this encrypted, and it can be open source, and everybody, my geek friends, you guys get all geekified and saying, this is legit. I can see the use case, but it's going to be generally small. It'll be families. The reason I wanted IPFS, I'll tell you how that started. One, it's ones and zeros. I can't store ones and zeros and make it available to everybody. I'm looking for publicity, that it can't be edited and so on. But for a family, I need it private, and I'll give you a perfect use case. My most recent grandson, that is now, I think 5'6" now, little Leo, he's my youngest daughter was pregnant with her second child. She gets an ultrasound now that are, oh my God, might as well just went to a portrait studio. I mean, you could, see, well, he's going to look like his paternal grandfather. I guarantee that, So she takes that photo that is almost like a portrait. He's probably, 8 months, 9 months old, whatever, in the womb, and puts it on Facebook. My grandson was facial recognitioned before he was born. I'm going, what the shit? I go, can't we have it, put it on IPFS, the family has to have a good, yeah, show it, cool, I'm all done. But I don't need him facial recognition before he's born. Come on, man. We need to have private communications with their family and not put it on these platforms, anything Google, anything Facebook, anything. You got a private mechanism for identifying yourself as legit, according to them, and whatever small, I'm down. I can see that. But of course, like all you guys, it's grandiose, it's big idea, it's going to, the government will take it. The government's going to inquire. The hell they are. No, they're not. No. There may be some, crypto wallet or a certain crypto, like Xano will go, yeah, this is kind of cool for our little communication thing. We got Agorist.market. We started that Black Market Fridays. James Corbett and I do a regular show every other week for years. And what we promoted, we had Black Market Fridays, a Friday, and it was just a day after Thanksgiving. Don't give all your money to the man. Don't give him to Walmart. Use alternative vendors and alternative currencies and take that one day and just kind of go get some cool stuff. They made it out of wood and pay him in Bitcoin Cash or something, Then we realized, and 200 businesses signed up in one day. We went, whoa, okay. That's good, but can't do it once a year. So we got blackmarketfridays.com, and we encourage this. Well, where do they go? Agorist.market, one of the guys built this up. Another friend of mine took it over, started to expand it. Do we make it local? Do we make it? This is the kind of thing that it needs for doing Agorist purchase and be private. Then we had Pirates Without Borders. We had a forum on there we were experimenting with. Well, a lot of people, they just want to open, be anonymous, have whatever, don't care. But you get the trolls in there, you get the, like, how do you deal with that? Well, you put filters on it. You go, okay, but who does the filter? Me? Captain Mark? I'm doing the filter? No. Each individual does. I don't like this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, and you send them to the bilge. They're bilge rats. And then sometime you might want to, I'm going to get a little high, do, some whiskey sours, and I go, it's Saturday night, I'm going to the bilge. I'm going to entertain myself. I'm going to get some flame wars going. But it's your decision. Yep. This is a solution for all of that. But it's not in the main government touchy-feely U.S. dollar, they, them, those ecosphere. It's not going to be adopted or take. I've seen this kind of stuff happen before. They definitely don't want what you're offering because it's too good, because it identifies people and keeps it private. It keeps your secrets. You know the other people, or it's up to you to determine whether their credentials are legit or somebody you know. Is this you? Yes. Okay. Then from then on, once they open that line of communication or transferring data, you're not getting like Knox did in the 90s. You're not getting spoofed to go vote for communist whatever. I get it. But you need proof of concept. You need to show how good it could be for that. And I'm saying you did your own chat, even if it was individual. It's like SMS without groups. That's fine. Or you do, or Telegram or whatever, some whatever, and then you get to add more people to it. You got freedom cells. You got militia groups. You got Antifa activists. I mean, whatever the hell it is, that, and I'm sure because it's encrypted, you don't see it. You don't give a crap. I just see ones and zeros going around. Yeah, you don't care. So then when they go to you and they say, hey, we got a warrant for you, I don't know. Life sucks. Oh, we need you to add some code, boy. So that's what happened with, what was it, Lava Bit, Edward Snowden. The guy, I've had him on. I've been interviewed. What happened is he does it. They come with a Patriot Act of you can't tell anybody. Really? So he shut down the business. Done. You can't shut down your business. We were using it, So don't think you're going to get some kind of endorsement or involvement with the banks, the government, the whatever. Man, not even. It's a freedom thing. It is for individuals, for people. It's for us to have a parallel opportunity to validate ourselves without the man. Now, whatever criteria you do to get your whatever pace, I don't care. But the point is that the only use case I can see for this is for individuals wishing to communicate prices, buy, sell, barter, trade, hell, be your indentured servant for whatever, for a period of time. And then you're able to communicate and be in a small community. And then you get in larger communities. It's not going to be this big giant Facebook thing because they don't want it, in my humble opinion. Okay? So that's where I'm at. I see this integrating into the use cases of the things that we're doing. And I see how, we can make use of this. And here, I'll show you this. You can see know what I'm talking about. You go to pirateswithoutborders.com, and we have here the all the categories that we see that needs to be decentralized. And the first one is communication. Okay? Yep. Then you go energy and this, that. You go down and it'll have all these, different tech and so on. The point is decentralization down to the individual. That you can live a first-class life out in the middle of the freaking desert. I got Starlink. I got solar. I got access to water. We're doing the food thing. We did yada, yada, yada. But there's always community that needs your tech, so that we can communicate what? For trade. So the letters of Captain Mark here, you get the book on Amazon, we're talking about, and you go read those letters and you can see exactly where the mindset waiting on you now. Because I won't be pirate, okay? But who gets to go on my pirate ship? I need to vet you. Who are you? What do you say you do here? Then you go into the forums and so on, and then you start using the filters. I don't want to wait for it to load. But you start using the filters, like what you're talking about. You have a group, people I trust. So I'm trying to give you a use case so that you can understand that I'm with you, but I need a use case.
So, so the use cases are a lot of the modern use cases. And you probably have heard that they're working on crypto regulations in the federal government, talking about like stable coins and things like that.
Yeah, of course.
So basically, they're predicting right now that $500 billion in cash would go out of banks and into stablecoins if stablecoins are allowed to offer a yield. So you're talking $500 billion going into tokens, being something secured by a private key. With that, the current methods in order to secure and use those private keys are either very expensive and very difficult, where I need specialized hardware security modules that's almost like a safe for my bits. And big companies, the big banks are going to have those. Or, I might need to get a hardware wallet from Ledger or Trezor or somewhere else and basically put my key on there. And then when I want to do a transaction, I got to pull out the hardware wallet and kind of run through things. All of that provides a horrible user experience. And it's not, there are like pluses and minuses from a security standpoint. With Vetted and how we leverage the Protein credential, it provides the perfect balance between security and usability, so that $500 billion that comes out of liquidity from the banks and goes into tokens, now all of a sudden I can actually I can have that key in Vetted. I can walk around town, and when I want to go pay a merchant for something, it becomes easy for me to secure that and have however much money I want or value I want on there. But knowing that when that private key is used to send, some tokenized gold or whatever it might be, that's happening on a secure enclave in the cloud, someplace that no one can ever see. And when you get to the idea of someone saying, hey, here's a court order to make some modification, they could send that order over and I could make the modification, but it's not going to work because your credential and all of your data are tied to the version of the enclave that your data is currently stored in. So the only way that I could introduce something new that would allow someone to see something would be by literally posting the code that shows you what it's doing and then compiling it and then putting it online and saying, hey, we just came up with an upgrade. Why don't you go ahead and upgrade to this new enclave? Because you have to approve when you want to move from one version of the enclave to the other. So you can literally say, I'm not moving, I'm not budging, and I can't get in there. No one else can get in there. And basically your data is locked down. You're the only person who can ever access it. So even like backdoors and things like that, it's all open source. You can see the code, and the code is mathematically validated in that secure enclave. So any kind of tampering, anything that might be done is immediately evident for anyone and everyone to see. And your app won't even connect if the enclave has been tampered.
I think we got a good beat on it. You're in the early stages, but you've developed quite a bit of stuff. You got an idea. And I think the main idea, and probably after this interview, you got some highlights that, I think is important that you might, get a better elevator speech. But the main thing is that it is a private solution to a real problem that governments keep claiming. You got a problem? Uncle Sam's here. We got you taken care of. Don't worry about it. We'll do it for you. No. It's so much easier and more valid when I can examine the code, or have people that I know can, and that it came from an individual that had a problem that they filled. I want to know why. I always, why? Blah, 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 blah. Why? Mm-hmm. When you get a use case for personal, this is why I'm motivated because I did this, because there's your why. I interviewed the guy that did the core technology that made Monero private, and he's working on the Xano project. And I'm going, why? Freedom Orient, whatever, from St. Petersburg, Russia. Well, he's surrounded by all these partners and libertarians and everybody going on about, Austrian economics and privacy, and he's like, what the hell are you guys talking about? So I got to have him watch The Philosophy of Liberty in Russian or something, kind of get what all these guys are buzzing about. The why, because he didn't like Putin watching all his crap. He goes, I'll tell you why, because I could, and the guy could suck it. And I'm driving going, now I know why. I need to know the motivation, the use case, how I can, take that skill and put it into what I want. And what I want is a free society. And the only way I know how to get that is to advocate it for everybody. But who am I thinking of? my 12 grandkids. That's what I'm thinking of. And that's what Freedom's Phoenix is all about. From the ashes of Lady Liberty's torch, Freedom's rebirth. Well, we're going through some ashes, and I need the kind of tech that you're talking about because it's going to be part of the solution. Part of the solution.
Yep. And I see lots of problems. I work in cloud security today. I've worked in big data. I know what happens with data generated on your phone going into servers in the cloud. I know how it's attacked. I know how it's misused. I know a lot about kind of what goes on the back end. And the impetus for me was saying, this is really messed up. We've got a major, I would say at this point, we have a major mental health crisis going on in the country because so many people have been psyoped in so many different ways. And I've lost trust in, just about all institutions. And that's a bad sign for society when you start losing trust.
You got one you haven't lost trust in? Just about all? You got one you like? Which one's that? I want to know which one that is.
There are a few that I like. I certainly am a fan of Freedom's Phoenix, and at the same time, I also love Dell Bigtree over at ICANN. So, there
right,
are
I'm at a government institution, but
So basically, from my standpoint, I can't fix everything. But when I look at the problem space, when I look at security and privacy, and I look at the modern world and what technologies we have available, this is the way that I see that we can actually move into the future, leverage technology for our betterment, but at the same time, be in complete control over it. So we want you to have control over your digital life. Everything on this planet is meant to be a gift from God for our benefit. And right now, technology is not benefiting us. It's actually being misused and causing a lot of problems. So little by little, we can start to actually tack in the right direction and get it to the point where it's working for us and not against us. But you need a secure foundation. You have to start somewhere. And, I'm not the greatest programmer in the world. I've worked with computers since I was 8 years old, and my dad built a computer in the garage. And throughout my career, I've done lots of technical things, but I'm not the person who would normally sit down and code something from scratch. However, I know what good looks like, and I understand good design. And by personally leveraging Cloud Code, I've been able to make some tremendous progress. And by the way, Ernest, once I have the Android app ready to go, at least with basic functionality, I'll certainly get connected with you so you can get it installed and see what it looks like. I can give you a login to the regular site now to peek at, but I'll wait until the app is ready, and I'm only kind of a week or two away from having the communication.
Yeah, don't turn me into I got to go geek, man. No. Give me a Grandma Joe's button.
Well, I'll at least send you a video so you can see what it looks like to go through the enrollment process and then connect up with someone else.
I will keep the audience informed. You get a stage of something, or even if you just need developers or help or finance, whatever, I don't have a problem putting it up on the site. I do that for everybody. Hell, half of, the banner ads I put up is because I like something and I want to be associated with it, and it's free. I just put it a lot of times to rotate. I go, get me a banner ad, we'll put that bad boy up. But it's not ready yet. But if you need, developers and so on, I'm with you, brother. I think it's a good idea to have a private form of ID validation, because if you can do that, then we got a parallel opportunity to keep the communists out of whatever the hell we want to do criteria of what we got. I see you. We go all avatar on them. I see you. Okay. So this is, that'd be what it's called. I see you. But anyway, maybe not. But the whole thing is I understand your motivation now. I understand what you're trying to do. I'm trying to be supportive and positive in the use cases as an activist, as someone needing this, understanding its use for it to get the launch. I think a chat thing would be awesome because it goes right to, communication with privacy on encrypted channels. Sign me up, man. So as you progress on this, please keep me informed. I'm open. Let's do it. So I can see why, Tim wanted me to talk to you, but, you're just at the beginning stages, but the hope the promise that we can parallel society, that which they say we got to have the idea. You don't want to, have, a bad guy communicate with you or do his like that. The government stop that, and even if they could, like, they give a shit. I mean, they don't care. We care. Al cares. Thank you very much. Liebl, right?
Yep.
Al Liebl. Al Liebl from VettID, vetted, VettID.org. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate this. I'm looking forward to seeing what you do with it. Because you can see I've been paying attention. I'm looking for this kind of crap. I mean, help me help you.
Yep. I'll definitely keep you posted, and I'll actually, I've got an idea for the group chat feature that you're looking for as potentially the first little application that integrates in with Vetted. So it'll be a separate service, but you can connect into it voluntarily and then set up and chat away with groups. So that, I think, is something we could implement pretty quickly. And by the way,
might get people want to help.
Well, here's the beauty of it. With Cloud Code and what you can do in the cloud now, in the last 3 months, I literally am 70% of the way done with Vetted. If people take a look at the source code that I've got on GitHub, I'm at the point now where I'm just kind of validating stuff and fixing some of the communications issues, but all of the core functionality is all plumbed in there. And what I really need right now from an assistance standpoint would be any cryptographers who might be able to help do some review of what we're doing to see if there are any issues. Also, mobile developers, if you're familiar with Android or iOS, basically Kotlin or Swift. And also for cloud developers, most of my backend stuff is in Lambda, and I'm just using CloudFront, so there's minimal attack surface. So if you're familiar with AWS as a developer, or cryptography, also cryptocurrency as well. Those are the types of folks who I think would be able to help quite a bit. And I think they'll find it very interesting what I've put together because it's very unique, but it solves a lot of problems.
Thank you for sharing with us and putting up with my drilling, But we did get learnified on something that's on the horizon that I can see the need. Thank you very much, Al, for coming on. Peace, brother.
Thank you for having me. You have a great one.
You too.